Let's talk about a type of man people secretly judge but almost never admit out loud. A man who loves cats. Not cats are fine, not I don't mind them. I mean a man who genuinely adores his cat. The kind of guy who has cat hair on his hoodie and doesn't even bother lint rolling anymore. The kind who has more pictures of his cat than he has selfies. The kind who talks to his cat like it's a roommate. Like, bro, why are you sitting there like you pay rent? And if his cat slow blanks at him, he takes that personally, in the best way possible. And what's interesting is people notice because society still treats this like it's unusual. A man with a dog, that's normal. A man with a cat, people start making assumptions. They call him soft. They call him mysterious. They call him different. Some people even treat it like a red flag. And that reaction right there is exactly where psychology shows up. Because when people judge something that harmless, that fast, it usually isn't about the animal. It's about what the animal represents. Now, before anyone gets offended, listen, this isn't cats versus dogs. Dogs are amazing. Cats are amazing. Dogs teach loyalty, emotional openness, and connection that's loud and obvious. Cats teach boundaries, patience, and connection that's quiet but real. This isn't about which one is better. This is about what bonding with a cat often reveals about someone's personality, nervous system, and relationship style. Because cats aren't just pets. Cats are basically walking boundaries, and the way someone bonds with a cat can reveal a lot about how they handle love, control, consent, emotional safety, and even masculinity. So let's break this down in a way that actually makes sense. Because here's the truth. Cats don't bond through obedience, they bond through respect. That's the biggest difference most people miss. Dogs are wired for cooperation. They're social animals. They read your energy like a mirror. They're like, I'm with you, I'm here, tell me what we're doing. They show affection loudly. They want to be included in everything. They'll follow you into the bathroom like it's a mission. Cats are different. Cats are wired for independence. They don't automatically trust you. They don't automatically obey you. They don't automatically perform affection just to make you feel good. Cats have boundaries. They decide when they come close. They decide when they leave. They decide what feels safe. And that's why cats are such a psychological mirror, because a cat will only bond deeply with you if you create the kind of environment where it feels safe. You don't get a cat's love by demanding it. You get it through patience, consistency, gentleness, emotional control. You can't force a cat to love you. You can't pressure a cat into closeness. You can't alpha your way into trust. And that's why when a man genuinely loves cats, it often says something deeper about him. It often means he's comfortable with connection that isn't based on control. And that's rare, because a lot of men are taught, directly or indirectly, to be tough, dominant, unbothered, always in charge, always leading. But cats don't bond with that energy. Cats bond with calm, and calm doesn't mean weak. Calm means regulated. Calm means emotional stability. Calm means you're safe to be around. And a man who loves cats is often a man who has learned how to be calm without losing strength. Now, let's make this more practical because I want you to really see it. Not every cat-loving man is the same, obviously, but there are patterns. There are certain traits that show up again and again in men who genuinely connect with cats. The first one is that he usually respects boundaries because cats require it. If you push too hard, they pull away. If you get too loud, they disappear. If you grab them when they don't want to be held, they'll let you know immediately. So a man who loves cats has usually learned something important. Closeness works better when it's earned, not forced. And in relationships, that becomes a huge green flag, because the kind of man who understands boundaries with a cat is more likely to understand boundaries with a person. He's less likely to take it personally when someone needs space. He's less likely to see boundaries as rejection. He's less likely to confuse control with love. The second trait is that he often observes small changes. Cat people notice small changes. They notice the slow blink. They notice the tail flick. They notice the ears shifting back. They notice the tiny signs that the cat is overstimulated or uncomfortable. That skill is basically emotional attunement. It's being able to read subtle cues without someone having to scream, cry, or explode first. And in relationships, that same skill becomes something feels off. Are you okay? You're quiet today. What's going on? You seem tense. Do you need a minute? That's emotional intelligence in real life. The third trait is that he often doesn't need constant validation. Cats don't hype you up. Cats don't clap for you. Cats don't act impressed. Cats don't care about your status. Your cat isn't sitting there like, "Wow, King, you're so successful today." Your cat is sitting there like, "Feed me, respect my space, don't be weird." So if a man loves cats, he's usually not addicted to being constantly praised. He can handle a relationship where love isn't performative. Because cats aren't performative. Cats don't fake closeness. They don't pretend they like something they don't. And for people who grew up with fake emotions, that honesty feels like peace. Some people grew up in homes where someone would say, "I'm fine," but they weren't fine, where affection came with conditions, where love felt like pressure, where closeness didn't always feel safe. Cats don't do that. Cats make it clear. If they want you near them, they come closer. If they don't, they create distance. And that kind of clarity can be extremely soothing. The fourth trait is that cat-loving men often appreciate quiet connection. Some people need constant talking to feel close. Some people need constant reassurance. Some people need constant stimulation. But cat energy is different. Cat energy is presence without pressure. It's sitting in the same room, doing your own thing, and still feeling connected. And that's a very emotionally mature kind of intimacy. It's the ability to be together without performing for each other. The fifth trait is probably the one that triggers people the most. A man who loves cats is often secure in his masculinity, because real masculinity isn't "I only like aggressive things." Real masculinity is "I'm stable enough to love something gentle without feeling threatened by it." And that's why the stereotype that cat men are less masculine is such a giveaway. That's not psychology, that's insecurity. Masculinity isn't defined by what animal you like. It's defined by how stable you are in yourself. A man who can love a small, independent creature without needing to dominate it isn't weak. He's emotionally mature. And honestly, a lot of people don't even recognize safe masculinity when they see it, because they grew up around loud masculinity, performative masculinity, aggressive masculinity, ego-based masculinity, the kind that has to prove itself constantly. But safe masculinity is quiet. It respects boundaries. It doesn't need to intimidate anyone. It doesn't need to dominate to feel valuable. It doesn't need to be feared to feel like a man. And cats respond to that. Now let's talk about why being chosen by a cat hits so deeply. Because if you've experienced it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. A dog will love you quickly. A dog will bond fast. A dog will forgive you even if you're chaotic. Cats are different. Cats watch first. They study you. They measure your energy. They decide whether you're safe. And when a cat finally chooses to sit next to you, or curls up on your chest, or follows you from room to room, it doesn't feel like a pet being cute. It feels like trust. Like the cat is saying, "I see you and I'm calm around you." And for a lot of men, especially men who carry stress quietly, that lands deep. Because many men don't get emotional reassurance in daily life. A lot of men feel valued for what they do, not just who they are, how much they provide, how strong they are, how useful they are, how composed they are. But cats don't care about your job title. Cats don't care about your social status. Cats don't care how impressive you are. Cats care if you're safe. Cats care if you're steady. Cats care if you respect space. So for some men, a cat becomes something rare, a connection where he doesn't have to perform, he just has to exist, and that's powerful. Let me tell you a quick story. I knew a guy who looked like the last person you'd expect to own a cat. Quiet, reserved, strong presence, not the soft aesthetic type at all. And he had this little gray cat that followed him everywhere. One day, someone teased him like, "Bro, you're a cat guy?" And he didn't laugh. He didn't get defensive. He just said something simple. He said, "Cats don't ask me to be a different person." That line stayed with me because that's what so many people crave. Not attention, not praise, not constant validation, just acceptance. Now, let's go even deeper because this isn't just personality, it's also biology. Cats are quieter animals. They move softly. They don't overwhelm you with noise. They don't demand constant interaction. And research around pet companionship shows animals can reduce stress and support emotional regulation. So for men who are overstimulated, burned out, or carrying silent pressure, a cat becomes a form of nervous system relief. You come home, you sit down, and there's a cat nearby. Not interrogating you, not demanding conversation, not needing you to be on. Just sharing space. And for some men, that's the first time all day they feel calm. It's emotional safety without pressure. And that matters more than people realize. Now here's where it gets a little uncomfortable. Some people dislike cats for one main reason. You can't control them. Cats don't automatically obey. Cats don't flatter your ego. Cats don't act impressed. And if someone needs dominance to feel safe, cats can feel disrespectful. They're like, "Why isn't this animal worshiping me?" But for secure men, cats feel refreshing because the relationship isn't about power, it's about mutual trust. And psychologically, that's a big deal because healthy love is not control. Healthy love is safety. Now, let's talk about the part nobody really says out loud. Sometimes a man bonds deeply with a cat because a cat feels safer than people. Not because he hates humans, not because he's antisocial, not because he's broken, but because he's been hurt. Cats don't gossip about you. Cats don't humiliate you. Cats don't twist your words. Cats don't weaponize your vulnerability. They might hiss if they're scared. They might scratch if they're overstimulated, but they're not socially cruel. So for men healing from betrayal, rejection, emotional pressure, or being judged, cats can become a bridge back to trust. Because cats teach connection slowly. They teach patience. They teach consistency. They teach emotional steadiness. They teach you how to earn closeness without forcing it. And those are relationship skills. So no, loving cats isn't automatically a red flag. In many cases, it's growth. But let's be real, because we're not doing fantasy psychology here. There is a difference between a healthy cat-loving man and a cat-loving man who's avoiding life. So let's make it simple. A green flag cat guy loves cats because he's patient, he's gentle, he's emotionally steady, he respects boundaries, he understands that love isn't possession. But a red flag cat guy loves cats and uses them as an excuse to avoid all human intimacy. He says things like, "Animals are the only thing I trust." But what he really means is, "I don't want to risk being vulnerable." Or he gets weirdly possessive, or he acts superior, like humans are beneath him. So it's not cat lover equals good, it's why he loves cats and how he treats them. Because the biggest green flag isn't that he owns a cat, it's that he lets the cat be its own being. Now, let's close the loop. A man who loves cats isn't just a cat person. He's often someone drawn to a specific kind of love. Love with boundaries. Love with consent. Love without performance. Love that's quiet but real. Cats don't love like servants. They love like equals. And men who love cats often value equality in connection. They don't need to be chased, they don't need to be worshipped, they don't need constant reassurance. They want something deeper, something honest, something calm, something safe. So if you're a man who loves cats, you're not weird, you're not less masculine, you're not soft in a bad way. You're emotionally intelligent, you're regulated, you're secure enough to love something that doesn't flatter your ego. And if someone judges you for it, just remember this: cats don't care what people think, and neither should you. Now tell me in the comments, do you think a man who loves cats is a green flag, or do you think people still misunderstand it? And if you're a cat guy, comment the word chosen, because if a cat chose you, you already know what that means. And if you want the next video, we're going even deeper: the psychology behind people who prefer cats over humans. Because yes, that's a thing too.